Hello and welcome. Hope everyone's doing all right. I'm doing all good. We got the first proper test coming up for the overwintering because we've got a couple of days of -1 predicted, and then a day of 2 or 3, and then a couple of zeros after that. So next 5 days should be a good test for the oversoil heating, and also I'm going to do another few bits as well. So this will be a sort of part 1, and then the part 2 will be the results. The insetti down there, that's coming inside. So yeah, really there's only 3 things I'm particularly worried about, which is the Sciatica cooperi there on the left, the big one, the tetrapanax up there at the back behind the climbing frame, and climbing up that fence post over there by the bananas and up and over the pergola is the giant honeysuckle, or Lonicera hildebrandiana. So yeah, there's 2 levels to this really, which is survival and ideal. So for the Sciatica, survival speaks for itself, but for the ideal, I'd like to try and keep the fronds this year if I could, so then next year, a 4 or 5 grow, it'll really sort of bush out and give me a good idea of what it looks like. And I'm sort of thinking, if it's just a few days here and there, I might just whack up a bit of something just to take the frost off the foliage, hopefully. Same with the tetrapanax really, except with that, obviously I want to try and keep it alive, but ideally if I can keep the grow point so it just grows up, without splitting off for the next couple of years, and get up to about the top of the wire height, or sort of, under your armpit height, before it splits off, that would be ideal as well. So I want to keep the grow point on that alive. And then with the Lonicera, I'm pretty sure that the bit going across the top of the pergola and anything above of that white heating pipe you can see running up the fence post, pretty sure that's all going to die off tonight. The sort of middle bit running up the fence post, it's got that on it, that it's got heat there, if you see what I mean, running up directly under the stem, and for the most part, we'll have a good look at it in a minute. But yeah, you know hopefully I'd like to keep that alive, as well as the actual main stem and roots as well. That they've got a coil around them. So speaking of the coil, just as a brief one, you've obviously seen it before, but I'm quite excited because it's actually my first proper test for it. I've done testing when it's not been cold, or last year when there was no plants around it, just to test the theory, but this is a plant that could actually be dependent on it for survival tonight. So you can see I've rigged me 2 temperature sensors up there. That's the one on the left, which is inside the coil just above the height of the crown, and then this one which is just outside of the coil, on the right there, connected to the irrigation. So these white pipes runs off effectively my heating circuit off my boiler. I'm a plumber, so I rigged it up, and it's actually designed for the Sciathias in mind, which is basically like the Dixonias, got to keep that crown from freezing, and also it wouldn't help, these ones do actually have sort of roots as such. I know the Dixonias do as well, but I think the Dixonia ones are more for sort of support the nutrients, as it were, whereas the Sciathias seems to have a lot, probably depends more on the sort of what it can take up from the roots. So I've done the coil there, so it's just like wet heat, if you know what I mean. I've not got a fan heater blowing on it which will dry it out. It's just a wet, whole dull heat. It's kind of like almost like underfloor heating, except just wrapped in a coil. So hopefully that will keep that, and up to the top of that, up to the top of the crown, frost free. So as a minimum, hopefully that will survive. If I want to keep the fronds, I'm going to have to rig something up for them. So luckily enough, obviously I've got the fence at the back there, this fence post here in the climbing frame there, so that gives me some nice anchor points for it. So I'm just going to make a little cover type thing for it, hang it directly between the 4, attach it with duct tape or whatever, and that'll just hopefully keep the fronds from browning off or blacking off and dying. Again, as long as the thing survives, I don't mind, but ideally if I can keep it and then get another set of fronds on it next year, that would be really good. So if we move around to the tetrapanax, here you go, you can just have a look. Oh yeah, one other thing we should look at actually while we're around here is that we've got 2 more Sciatica cooperi. You can see they're starting to get to the stage now where they're starting to jump out at you, as you know, not jump out physically. Well, they are jumping out physically, but kind of as a view as well, you know. I mean, they're starting to take center stage. So they're both the same age, as you can see. They're both roughly the same size. The difference is that for this one, I've got a coil going around it down there. And this one hasn't. You can see I've rigged up some heating to go off to the Tetrapanics last weekend, just because I did it. So it's got heating running past it, but it's not coiled. But what I've done with this one is purposely put a Polysticum setiferum Herrenhausen, the beast, there on the left. Here's the Cyathea. And then to the right of it, it's a bit far behind because I only put it in this year, there's another setiferum, but they're kind of bushy. So I'm hoping that as it's doing, as you can see at the back there with the fronds sort of coming out over the Cyathea, it'll keep the frost off it. But that'll be a good little test between those two, one with the coil and one with just the ferns keeping it off. I'm not worried about, well, I am worried about the foliage. It's going to be the same to lose those, but yeah, I'm not going to go crazy covering everything up. So yeah, finished off the heating for this one. It's not quite as good as the others, but you know, hopefully that should just create enough heat. There's a few rocks in there as well, which might sort of warm up and keep it well. So yeah, you can see the height of the wire I was on about. If I give you just an inkling, yeah, just sort of above my hip, that is. So I'm just average. So yeah, there you go. So with this one, again, it's going to be about keeping the foliage if I can. That should keep the coil should keep the roots. It might not keep the grow point, as in like the heat of it, but if I pull up a little cover across the top of it for the foliage, then it hopefully, and you know, it's the hope that kills, it will sort of trap a bit of the heat in there. I may do something else with it as well. Well, for all of them, we'll go and have a look at them. I've got about 3 massive buckets of, when I say buckets, the monkey buckets of leaves, and loads more as well. So I'm going to make like effectively 3 mount leverists, a big mountain of leaves on each of them. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do for the Tetrapanics. Again, luckily got that wire there just to duct tape something to. And then what I'll probably do is in the middle, can you see the bamboo? Yeah, under the barbecue above that top Tetrapanic, so you can see all that bamboo I've got running up towards the thing, just old scrappy bits. So I figure if I dig them in there as sort of supports and then tie the what I'm going to put there to the climbing frame, and then move one of those stools, or maybe that big bottom bit over there for the parasol, that big metal pole with the cross coming out of it, chuck that over there the other side of the Willemi. I'm not actually too worried about the Willemi, but yeah, for the Tetrapanic, shove it over there somewhere, duct tape it all to it, and then hopefully again that'll just keep the frost off the foliage and stop it from browning off. Because you know, if we only have this week of frost and then it's nice and sunny for 2 days, the leaves are going to actually, well, I take it, feed the plant. So yeah, we're coming across to the Lonicera now. So if we have a look down there, I've got my coil. You can see this isn't particularly woody yet. It is kind of going woody, but it's definitely not woody. I think, you know, even if it was woody, it would probably die, this thing. This is actually the one I'm most worried about. And worry is a kind of one of them terms, because, you know, being a plumber, I know 2 things, which is price it like you hate it and always work off worst case scenario. So, you know, for all of them, worst case scenario is they all die tonight. And then I've learnt a lesson, which is they won't work without going crazy. So, you know, for example, with the Lonicera, what would that mean? Oh, I'll put a hardy honeysuckle in instead. For the Tetrapanics, oh, I'll put some bananas in there, like I said last time, or one of those 2 pines or something. If the Cyathea dies, I'll just put a bigger 4 or 5 foot Dixonia or something like that for the same sort of effect. So, you know, it's all relative. But yeah, so for the Lonicera, we've got the coil down there, and then you can see I've sort of run the heating up a couple of, just an inch or 2, or as close as I could get to the stem around. It does look a little bit funny, But this is all a test. If it works, you know, if I get through winter and I've just done this and this whole stem survives, then, you know, I'll obviously make it look a little bit better. But yeah, we're just on testing. It's probably not worth anything. I'll have to rip it all out. But, you know, learning something, and you know, every no brings you closer to a yes, or whatever the saying is. Oh, I think that was my mate when he went out dating or trying to pull. But yeah, so yeah, the top bit, that's fairly new growth. I'm not convinced that's going to survive the night, so let's have a look at how it did this year. So it got all the way across here, come around the back, and then got up that much. And the idea of that is that it runs across the front of that, and then all the little offshoots, which you can see like that, they will then tuck up over the pergola, if that makes sense. And then we had these ones here. I broke the end off this one, but this split into two here. This is covered by the banana leaves. Yeah, the bananas would be interesting as well. The bananas look, what's the word I'm looking for? Horrific. So yeah, and then we got this one which was starting to actually run across this wire, so he might have to wait to experiment until next year. That's if any of that survives at all. So to help me, oh yeah, the other thing for winter is actually the Nephrolopis. These are ladder ferns here. They are absolute monsters. Just look at it. Yeah, but not hardy apparently. So yeah, it could be good. I'm actually gonna take the top one out of that fence post over there, right where the ferns are on it. I'm going to take that one in and just keep them as a bit of an insurance policy, because they do like to multiply these things. Just to show example, I've already got two that I taken off. 2 of the 6 I've got are multiplications. You can see that one's just started going there. I'd be very surprised if that one wasn't going as well. But yeah, apparently not hardy. So these I'm just going to leave out as they are. I'm not going to do anything with them. The idea is this one's close to the house, this one's not as close to the house, and neither's that one, but it's a bit further away. So like you know, you see what I'm getting at. If you know, if the 2 that we're looking at now die and that one survives, I know they're really borderline. If none of them survive, I know they're not hardy at all. And if all 3 of them survive, then I know that, you know, they can take what they can take. Yeah, the only other one is this little Cyathea australis in here. We haven't really seen him for a while because he's hidden behind the erythrosaur, but there he is down there. So yeah, that one is the fern theory again, and you know, as in it's covered by ferns to keep the frost off, and it's pretty close to the house. And that's actually a hardy Cyathea. The well, no, it's the hardiest Cyathea, that on the australis, but apparently it's deciduous, and there was something else about it as well, I can't remember. But yeah, so all the others are Cooperize. And yeah, that's it. So what I've got to work with is some zip ties. I've got some duct tape somewhere as well, and the stuff I'm going to use is this. This is a rug underlay to stop it from slipping. It's got a kind of, excuse my hands, I've just finished work. It's got a kind of tackiness to it, and if you want to have a look at the sort of material of it, it's kind of like a cottony wool type sort of feel to it. This stuff here, which I use to go under the seats that are over there, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a fire tonight. There's all my pallets chopped up. Those seats over there, the big stone ones, these I actually use them to go under the cushions, because obviously stone is cold. If you want to know what they are, you can see there it says Hello Fresh on it. So we sometimes get the boxes of Hello Fresh, and to insulate the freezer stuff, it comes in these bags, and I've been saving them up. So it's kind of like another, again, that sort of stuff, and you can see the thickness of it. So I'm going to try and keep it actually in the plastic bags. I've got about 10 of them there, folded up in plastic bags. So I'm going to duct tape them all together like a patchwork quilt, and then yeah, whichever one the size fits, put it over with perspective plants. And then I thought about this stuff as well. When I did the underlay, when I did my floor in my office, because it's on a cold slab, you know, uninsulated concrete slab, I had to insulate it. So I bought some of this polystyrene, which I've got quite a lot of as well. But maybe next year If I'm feeding, if I build up some really quick rigs, you know what I mean, like as in I can keep them flat packed in a little box somewhere, and then when the time comes, like this time of year, I can just run out, unfold them, or do whatever, and just click them in place almost, and it'll act as an insulation along with the underfloor heating, over soil heating. I might actually be able to keep some proper good stuff and be fairly confident that it's going to survive. Stuff like Cyathea dialbata or Medullaris spring to mind instantly, and also Dixonian fibrosa or sclerosa. Yeah, the sclerosas would definitely be nice. But yeah, this is polystyrene, and you can see it's quite thick, 150 centimeters thick. But yeah, so my main issue actually with the heating is coming with how it's going to switch on and off, because at the moment I've just got a little hand valve that I just unscrew, and then when the radiators or the hot water, so what it does, the water comes off my boiler, I've got a hot water cylinder, goes through all of that, the radiators and that, and then this is tapped into what's known as the return, so it's like the last part of the system. It's just almost like another big radiator, the last one on the system. So the heating's done, the boiler's done what it's needed to do inside, and this is kind of, it's not strictly speaking excess heat, but that's kind of what it is. So it's just at the moment, to switch it on, I just turn a little hand valve on when I need to, which is what I'm going to do for now. But in the future, because obviously the trouble is, basically if I go out to the pub and forget to switch it on a Friday morning, or the thing suddenly changes or whatever, and I come home and I just go straight to sleep instead of coming and turning that valve on, it's not going to get switched on, and yeah, that could lead to issues. So I need to come up with some way of having like an automatic switching system. But the trouble is that yeah, as soon as you start adding mechanical things to this sort of thing, it means something can fail, and it's not going to fail when it's not needed, it's going to fail when it's needed its most. So yeah, we'll have a little think about that, but for now we're just going to switch on with the hand valve. So yeah, so we'll go to part 2. It may be that I do a quick one just showing you what I've rigged up, or it may be, if it's not, it might be too dark by then, or if not, it might be tomorrow with the results. So yeah, starting to get a bit chilly. Get a cup of tea on, find the duct tape. Let's do this. Thanks for watching. Right, we made it in the end. It's all very redneck engineering, but let's go and have a look at what we've done. So this was, yeah, like I said, a rug underlay. So I've just jammed a bit of bamboo in there. It's just jammed in that at an awkward angle, so it's not going to go left and right, and then round against the edging for the flower bed down there at the bottom. And then basically I've just duct taped it up. So there's the bar stool. Ooh. So that's just resting on top of that and to the underneath, and then obviously I had the wires running across. 2 of the bits of duct tape have come off already. That's not great. But if we have a look from underneath, you can see it's probably it is probably just clear of them. It's probably just where those 2 bits have come off, but I ran out of duct tape, so I'm gonna have to go and see if I've got any more or anything else that I can use in the short term. But hopefully with that coil running, that will keep most of that off of that. It's not, if it rains tonight, I'm absolutely screwed, but yeah, we'll hope for the best. So moving around the Lanicera, haven't done anything with that. This is probably the one I actually should have done something with. But we'll see what happens. And then yeah, lastly the Cyathea cooperi over there. So like I said, I've made my little patchwork quilt out of those insulation things, and then what I've done, which you probably might be able to pick up, is I've run loads of wires just in like a spider web sort of fashion, just to sort of keep it all up, take the weight of it, if you see what I mean. And then I've just duct taped it to the wires. So it looks nice and comfy in there. It's not quite covering everything. You can see this one's sticking out, so if that goes black tomorrow and the rest of the front's alright, I'll know it does make a difference if they all go black. then I know it doesn't make a difference, or they might just be a little bit tougher than I'm thinking, and I might not need it. But yeah, as a little trial run, we'll just go with this for now. I can always pick up, if I picked up another one of them rug things or some proper fleece, but the thing is, I want to kind of trap the heat, if you know what I mean. That's the end goal, like a little igloo, if you know what I mean. So something that's like this stuff that it's made of, yeah, if I could get something like that, and then it work all right, then we can tidy it up and do like little pre-rig, so it just takes 10 seconds just to put them out in the future. So I did actually put the heating on about 5 minutes ago. So let's have a look at how these are doing. So the one that is outside of the coil, 7.6 there in the center, and then the one over here, 12.8. so what's that, 5.5 degrees? But it's obviously not, I mean, that's really good actually. But it's probably where it's like quite warm, if you see what I mean. You know, not quite warm, but it's like, you know, mild, as it were, like 7 or 8 degrees, whatever that one was over there. So yeah, I'll be interested to find out this winter whether it's a kind of sliding scale, if you know what I mean, like as in, as you get down, does the temperature rate decrease, does the difference decrease, if you know what I mean. So let's just say that's a 5-degree swing there. If that was reading 4 degrees, would that be a 4-degree swing back to 0? And if it's reading -4, would it go down to -9, or would it be like -5 or something, if you see what I mean? So yeah, stuff to get into, but I'll leave that there for now. So oh, yeah, that's about it really. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot off down the pub in a minute, and we'll go from there. Right, all will be revealed in the next video. See you next time.